Hi, I'm Milia.
And I'm Ella.
We learned about the effects of carbonic acid on mussel shells.
So what is ocean acidification? Ocean acidification happens due to oceans absorbing giant amounts of carbon dioxide or CO2 from the atmosphere. This carbon dioxide comes from the burning of fossil fuels, and when the carbon dioxide mixes with the salt water from oceans, it becomes carbonic acid. Carbonic acid is harmful towards marine animals with shells made of calcium, such as mollusks, and this acid dissolves their calcium shells.
Our project. For our project, we tested how ocean acidification affects the mass of blue mussel shells. Our hypothesis was if we add acid to ocean water, then the mass of the mussels will decrease because the acid will start to dissolve and weaken the shell.
So our procedure was, first we set up 3 containers of the same size. In the first, we put 100 milliliters of salt water. In the second, we put 100 milliliters of salt water and 6 milliliters of acid. And in the third, we put 100 milliliters of salt water and 12 milliliters of vinegar. We labeled 3 mussel shells and put 1 in each container and labeled the containers. Over the course of 5 days, we weighed the mass of the mussel shells and studied changes in the mass and appearance.
Mass observations. The results of the saltwater shells were pretty consistent throughout the days of testing. There were slight changes in the mass of these shells, but we think it's only because we didn't dry the shells properly before we weighed them. The mass of the shells in acid decreased constantly, and after a few days there was a big decrease on day 4, from 6.6 to 3.4 for container 2, and 4.4 to 2.9 for container 3.
So these are the pictures from day 1 of testing and the last day of testing, day 5. So what we noticed about the appearance was that by day 2, the shells had already started to disintegrate, and after a while, you were able to squeeze the shells all the way shut without them breaking, which you couldn't do with the shells that were in acid. And lastly, the outside of the shells in acid started to peel off, and you could begin to see the part below the top layer of the shell.
Our hypothesis turned out to be proven correct because the mussel shells and acid did, in fact, have a massive decrease in mass.
And overall, we learned that mussel shells and other marine animals can become weaker due to carbonic acid, which can make them more vulnerable to predators. This is a current problem in the world, and one simple way you can start is to compost, recycle, and reuse what you can. Thank you.